The first thing to do is to familiarize yourself with the video files. They are already named, but you can change their names if you want. The story is simple. A man breaks for lunch, shutting off his computer and grabbing his phone. He gets to his car, then realizes he left his keys on his desk. But how that story is told, which shots are used, and in what order, is up to you, the editor. Begin by creating a new project in Premiere. I've called mine Cutting on Action. The standard defaults are fine. The video files are all 1080p HDV. Next, import all of the video files, either from the File menu or with the keyboard shortcut Command or Control-I, I for import. Most sequences in a film will start with a wide shot, then progress to closer shots as we need to see more important things or relationships. Here is the opening of my own edited Cutting on Action video. The video sequence you'll be editing consists of 3 scenes: in the office, in the building hallway, and outside the building in the parking lot. You can see most of the important information in the master shot: man typing, looking at his watch, shutting down the computer, grabbing his phone, forgetting his keys, which are right on the desk in plain sight, and leaving the office. Other shots in the office cover the separate events within that master shot. There are close-ups of the watch, the keyboard, and grabbing the phone, and a wider shot of him walking to the door and leaving the office. There are also close-ups of the door handle and the light switch. There is a similar but more limited collection of shots in the hallway and in the parking lot. You could edit the entire office scene with just the 2 wide shots, but the action runs long and looks dull. So now comes the fun part of editing. You know what's going to happen, and you have the opportunity and resources to make the sequence much more interesting in the telling of the story. What's the right way to edit the sequence? There is no one way. You have many choices to make, which is one reason you want to be familiar with Eclipse. You'll most likely start with the master shot to set the scene. But which master shot? It's up to you. Where should you edit? Well, probably at any point where either there is something we need to see or in order to condense the action. One reason to cut on action is to continue the action across shots. Don't let the action finish in one shot and then cut to the next shot. Edit across the action. The action should continue in both shots, like this shot of looking at his watch. Let's see how we'd edit that. You'll begin, as always, by double-clicking on the clip you want to edit to bring it up into the source window. I'm going to select this master shot. Now play it, and when you think you know where you want the clip to start, press the I for endpoint on the keyboard. Let the video run until you get to the point you want to cut away from the master wide shot, then press the O for out point to set the endpoint marker. You don't need to set your in and out points while playing the video. You can also scroll through the video manually by sliding the source monitor's playback head, pressing the I or O key wherever you want to mark the edit point. Since you know how the scene is going to play out, you don't need the entire clip, only up until where you'll cut to the next shot. Let's say you want to focus on his looking at the watch. Cut it at some point after where you think you'll edit. There's no need to be highly accurate at this point. We'll trim the shot in a minute. Click and hold the cursor in the source monitor window. You'll see the cursor change to a little hand to drag both video and audio to the beginning of the timeline. Premiere will know what the video resolution is, and for this video, we'll set it automatically to HD resolution, 1920 by 1080p. When you do this, Premiere creates a new sequence with the name of that first shot. Instead of an icon of a film frame and an audio waveform, the sequence icon looks like a miniature timeline. Click on the sequence name and rename it whatever you want. One really interesting result of cutting on action is that you can speed up the action without speeding up the footage. In the wide shot of the man crossing the room, we can reduce the time it takes to leave the office by cutting just before he reaches the door and beginning the next clip of the doorknob as his hand reaches for the light switch. You'll want to watch each edit as you make it. Sometimes you might need to shorten a few frames from either clip to smooth out the movement. Sometimes you might need to add a couple of frames. You can shorten or lengthen interactively by zooming in on the timeline display. Place your playhead at the edit point, as you will be zooming in and out around wherever the playhead is located. To zoom, grab either end of the zoom bar at the bottom of the timeline and slide it. The smaller the zoom bar, the more you'll be zoomed in on the edit point. To trim a few frames from either clip, you can either use the razor blade tool, press C for cut on the keyboard, or use the move tool, V on the keyboard, to drag the end of either clip shorter. To join the clips, eliminate the space between them. Proceed through the project, adding each clip you want to use one at a time. There are more clips than you need, so don't plan on using all of them. Keep watching your video as you create it to make sure it's moving smoothly and the clips are in the right order. When you've edited your last shot, stop. Check the time on the timeline. You need to be somewhere right around 30 seconds. If it's shorter than that, you either cut the shots too short or you need to add additional clips. If it's much longer than 30 seconds, you'll need to trim one or more of your shots, always cutting on action. Adding additional footage to an already completed video can be complex, as you need to move a lot of edited footage later in the timeline. The easiest way to do that is to do an insert edit. So far, all you've done are overwrite edits. In other words, the new clip will overwrite or replace the original clip, if there is one. But an insert edit will let you add the new clip and automatically move everything past that edit point later in the timeline. To change from an overwrite edit to an insert edit, simply hold down the Control key on a PC or the Command key on a Mac as you make that edit. Notice how the icon changes right at the edit point. One last thing to be aware of.
Check the watch.
While the clicking of the keyboard is okay in the opening shots, there are shots where you can hear the director giving directions to the talent.
We're walking.
You don't want that audio to play. Since you don't need an audio track for this assignment, you can mute the audio by clicking on the M for mute in the audio track. Then, when you export the video, set the export panel format to H.264 and the preset to YouTube or Vimeo 1080p HD. Just below the preset drop-down, uncheck the audio box. You'll only export video for this assignment.